Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Wow, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way. We got my good friend and colleague on the E360. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about him in a few minutes, but we got a show that's going to uplift you, going to give you confidence, courage, hope, belief, most importantly, faith that you can do anything that you set your mind to. So we're going to talk about some of the things that many of us have doubts about, and we don't have the courage to reach out to others or to reach out to ourselves to find out what are some of the things that we have to have courage in order to move forward in life and to live the best life that we can. I got this young man today. I can call him a young man that's going to enlighten us on a lot of different things and also tell you a lot of things that he's doing. He's world renowned. His show is in 181 countries. He's a talk show host as well. And just like I say, he's doing some great, great things. So I tell you what, first of all, let me tell you what the title of the show is. Michelle, she's going to join us later down the line. But the title of the show is Find Your Courage, Change Your Life. Let me say that one more time. Find your courage. Change your life. Be the person that you want to be, but you have to believe in yourself. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about, some of the show highlights. We're going to have a sit-down discussion with my main man, Ken D. Foster. He's a keynote speaker, best-selling author, business strategist, news personality, like I told you, business owner, all of those type of things. We're going to discover how does Ken define courage, the role self-awareness plays in having the courage to change your life. And we're also going to discuss his new book. Got a new book out there, The Courage to Change Everything. And most important, we're going to talk about the core values used to be successful. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about this young man, but then we're going to bring him on. He's going to share with you who he is. Just like I mentioned to you, Ken D. Foster is a keynote speaker, best-selling author, business strategist, news personality who owns a broadcast and media production company. He is executive producer and host of The Voices of Courage, a syndicated show on television and podcast, radio. And just like I mentioned, he is featured in 181 countries. I tell you what, without any further ado, let's bring on Ken D. Foster. How are you doing, sir?
Dr. James, it is so good to see you and be here with you. I'm doing absolutely fantastic. And most days of my life are that way.
You know what, man? I'm just encouraged with the title of this. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you that I did not go over? Where you were born and raised, what makes you click, why you do the things that you are doing.
Well, I was born in Whittier, California, and I was raised by two amazing parents. They both work for the state, and I have three siblings. And today, back then when I was a young boy, I had a lot of courage. I did a lot of things and got me in a lot of trouble. And but it was unfettered courage. It wasn't there wasn't any real wisdom involved with that. So I would just go off on my own and do fun things, and like I said, sometimes get me in trouble. But it was a good childhood. I enjoyed my upbringing. And I went on to go to college down here in San Diego State. And then while I was in school, I decided that I wanted to start a waterbed store. I was working for a company. I thought I could do this. So I did. And I actually dropped out of school and opened a waterbed store that it became a chain. And that's where I really got my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in. And, that's where I started. And then I, went on to create a lot more businesses over the years. And, that's kind of where I am now. But, I have to say this, but I would say I started down a road when I was young of I didn't really know most of the success principles that I do today. And I think a lot of us, unless you're taking even if you're taking business admin or business operations or business economics in college, um, you're still not getting everything you need because there's certain principles that I've learned after being a coach now for 28 years and working with the top of the top, the industry best of the best. I've learned that there are certain principles that when we apply, they impact all areas of our life, not just our business life. They impact our career, they impact our spiritual life, our home life, our life with our relationships, all areas. Those are the principles I'd like to talk today, James, as we move into this a little bit.
Wow. So hey, Ken, so
Yeah.
let's go back a little bit because influences as we grow up and as we develop our character, our personality, and the person that we do. Where how did your family and community help shape your thought process that you've applied with
Well, I'm
today?
laughing because I'm thinking of my dad right now, and my dad was a cop. He was with the Los Angeles Police Department for 48 years, and he had a huge heart. That's probably what he was able to be on that force for 48 years. But he also he knew how to ask questions. Sometimes he's interrogating me, especially in high school, right? Where you been? Where you been up to? Who are you hanging with? But those questions really sunk in with me. He really asked a lot of questions of myself, my friends, and as a result of that, over the years later, I wrote this book. It's called "Ask and You Will Succeed: 1,001 Ordinary Questions to Create Extraordinary Success in 35 different areas of life." So from that basis of him, asking us, and I realized, at a young age, if you ask lousy questions, you get lousy answers, right? I mean, if you ask, what's wrong with me? I guarantee your mind will answer that. But if you ask a question that might give you a quantum breakthrough, and you ask just like, well, what is the quantum breakthrough I need to take my business to the next level or take my show to the next level? You ask and you keep asking. Eventually, we get the answer to those. My good friend Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, they've sold 1 billion books. Mark one time told me, he says, Ken, we asked the universe or God 300 times, what is a mega best-selling book title? And that's where they got Chicken Soup for the Soul, right? So there's principles involved here. And if we're willing to take a deep dive within ourselves and start to live from the inside out rather than the outside in, life changes and it gets better and better. That's what I found.
Wow, you're talking transformation leadership. I mean, I went to one of my doctorate is transformation leadership, inside out, inside. So hey, Ken, before we get heavily off into this, if our viewers and our listeners wanted to know, Ken, what would be the best adjective that would describe Ken D. Foster and why?
Well, the adjective would be courage, and the why is that I've learned I got really good at fear. Any of you really good at fear? Like, you have some fears. You're afraid of maybe starting a business. You're afraid of being in the right relationship. You're afraid your health's going to fail. You're afraid that your wife might say something you don't like. We're masters at fear, right? And right. What switches fear into fearlessness is courage. And I know you're going to probably ask me, well, how do you define courage? So I'm just going to give it to you, right? Courage comes from the Latin word cur, which means to speak one's heart. But it's more than that. And when I define courage, courage is a force, it's a power, it's an energy, it's a resonance within us. And when we can tap into that and stay in the courageous mindset, stay in that energy, that vibration, there is no fear. Fear and courage can't be in the same house together. So courage has been my whole life. And it took me years to really realize that. And every time I got stuck, it's because I went back into the fear mindset instead of the courage mindset.
Wow. I never heard anybody put it like that. But you're absolutely right. Fear and courage cannot coexist at the same time. So Ken, for our viewers out there, transformation, which you brought up about a second or so. We got about 2 minutes before the break.
Okay.
How did you get started with your transformation business?
Oh, that's such a wonderful minute and a half story. So
we can pick it up after the break.
I can do it really quick. So I at one point in my life, I became a stockbroker, a security principal, an arbitrator for the National Association of Security Dealers. I happened to, about 10 years into my career, start up a division in Bank of America, and I had about 350 branches under me in Northern California. We were doing about $200 million in revenue after the second year, right? I got to that place, and I was in therapy at the time. And even though I was making a lot of money and helping a lot of people doing things, a lot of things weren't working for me in my life. So I'm in therapy, and I'm hearing this little voice, and this little voice says, Ken, you've got to feel the pain to make the change. So I go to the therapist, and I've been with him for a year, and he's sitting in this chair. He's a guy with blue eyes and it's kind of steel blue hair, gray hair. And I'm talking to the doctor, and I said, I hear this voice. And he says to me, Ken, you got to follow that voice. You got to follow that voice. As I walked out of his office, I didn't know whether he was not wanting me in his office anymore or something was changing. Anyway, what happened with me is I followed that voice. What was the voice? That was the voice of courage. That was in 1992, and everything started changing for me once I started following that voice.
Won't you hold that thought, Ken? I want to come back and talk about the voice of courage a little bit more. So hey, viewers and listeners, wherever you're watching us, whether you're watching us on EducatorWriter television, when you're watching us on YouTube, radio, or etc., if you want to be part of the conversation, all you do is just go to the platform that you're watching us on. Ask Mr. Ken Foster any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you on there and say, is your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are. The one that keeps us close when we're apart. Walking from the darkness of all that we've been through. It seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again a life of need.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And hey, Ken, I want to say one thing. I want to thank our viewers and listeners out there. We just went over 31,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, and that's just one platform. So thank you for all the support. Thank you guys for continuing to watch. And I tell you, whichever platform that you all are watching us on, this is an incredible guest I got here, Ken D. Foster. If you want to just reach out and ask any question that you might have, this young man right here will provide you with an answer. So, hey, Ken, I want to pick it back up because you were talking about the voices of courage. And that just stuck with me. And I wanted you to expand on that a little bit more if you can.
Absolutely. And, I appreciate you calling me a young man. That's very good. Well, listen, voices of courage. What is the voice of courage? We all have it within us. We all have courage, but courage is like riding a bike. Some people can really ride a bike well, and other people, they haven't developed that skill set, right? So courage is something we all have, but you have to develop it. What is it? Where does it come from? How do I develop it? One of the ways that you can develop it is by asking courageous questions. For instance, you could ask yourself, if I were courageous today, what are the 3 most important steps that I can take to XYZ, build my life, become a better salesperson, to become a better business owner, to become a better team player? What are the 3 most important steps that I can take? That's one way we can do it. Another way we can do it is setting a goal. Set a goal that's bigger than what you've tried to do in the past. Right? So for instance, this year I set a goal to ride from San Francisco to San Diego with the Challenged Athlete Foundation, raise $15,000 for them on my own, and ride with about 26 or 27 challenged athletes. These are people that have lost their limbs, right? Children and also adults. And, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know the how of this. I knew the what, I knew the goal. And what happens when you stretch yourself like that, right? Imagine that 700 miles, about 100 miles a day for 7 days in a row. My mind tells me I'm going to get sleepier and sleepier or tired, and my muscles are going to wear out and stuff. That's what my mind says. But that's not what the infinite potential within me says. That's not what the voice of courage says. The voice of courage says every day, I take one step towards that goal, one step. And that's what I did. See, that voice in you can be developed too. Set goals that are much higher than what you think is possible. Get out of your zone. The other part of this, James, is that for me, it's about service, right? I know that when I set a goal, that's a noble goal. That's one that I win, my community wins, my family wins, everybody wins here, right? When I do that, then what happens is providence moves. The people, places, and things that are necessary for that particular goal to manifest starts to show up. And a lot of times it shows up very quickly.
Wow. Goals I believe, is the most important thing that people need to lock in. Because if you set meaningful goals and you pursue those goals and you stay motivated and you have the courage to just stand when things don't always go your way, that's when I believe that we get the most reward from achieving goals. And Ken, you're a triathlon guy. You run, you swim, you bike, you do all of those things. And so how do you stay focused on these things? And the reason I ask this question because I want people to lock in on focus. that sometimes there is pain. Sometimes we're going to get tired, but we have to continue to do what we have to do. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Let me just plus one other thing with the goal piece, right? So we're here, goals go back to why you're here from my point of view, right? Why are you here? Why are you on this planet? You are here and I am here to grow, to evolve, to remember who we are, and to be of service to others. And if we do that, everything else starts to fall into place. But we do that. Part of the ways we do that is with focus. Let me tell you a quick story. I had a lady that I was coaching. And I wasn't coaching her on focus. She actually was coaching me on focus after I heard this story. She was a musician, an opera singer, and she would write music. She would sing music. And I asked her one day, I said, how do you stay focused? And she said to me, she said, well, Ken, focus is not that big of a deal for me. She said, in fact, when I focus, I tune everything out and I just completely take all distractions away. And whatever I'm working on, I just stay focused on that. She said, in fact, I can stay focused for 8, 9, 10 hours without eating, without anything, right? And, have you ever been in somebody's presence where all of a sudden you go, you know what? There's no reason I can't do that either. You almost pick up their resonance. You pick up that energy from them. And from that day on, once I worked with her, and maybe you'll feel this today, coming through this with myself and James, you'll feel that, you know what, I remember, I can focus. I've got that ability. Let me see what happens if I go and maybe journal. I don't know what you're going to focus on. I'm just using that. Maybe journal for 2 hours. Wouldn't that be amazing if you gave yourself the privilege to do that, the gift of doing that? So focus, of course, is one of the success principles. Without focus, we can't go much. Now, I'll tell you my secret to focus. And that is, I've been a meditator for 3 decades. So I'm focusing on the spiritual eye, right? For very long periods of time. It's focus, focus, focus. As within, so without, like James said earlier, right? And I said, it's that place where we learn to just still ourselves, isolate. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest creators of, definitely the greatest creator of the Renaissance, right? I guess he was in that era. Leonardo said, isolation is the price of greatness. The great sage Yogananda said that stillness is the price of greatness, right? So combine that for yourself. Isolation and stillness, whether you're in nature, whether you're meditating, whether you're being mindful, these principles apply to all areas of our life. Einstein always said, he would, back to the question thing, Albert Einstein said, he asked the question, what would it be like to ride a light beam of light, right? He asked that over 10 years. And he got the special theory of relativity, E=mc², which changed everything, right? For all of us. How did he do that, though? He wasn't distracted on his computer, right? He didn't have it back then. He wasn't, going from here to there, everywhere. He was in a place of contemplation and stillness. And the same thing applies to all of us. If you want to step into your power, your greatness, it's important to be still, to learn how to focus your mind, to learn how to quiet yourself, and then come out and do what you need to do.
Wow. You're absolutely right. Being still, being focused. But Ken, most people, you mentioned the word courage. Just like in your new book, Courage, the courage to change everything. You talk about the importance of being aware of the inner genius. Can you explain and elaborate on that?
Yeah. Well, I'll say it this way. This is how I learned it. It's very simple, but it gives an illustration. Everything comes out of this thing we call God, the universe. Name God. God has thousands of names. Whatever that is, everything comes out of that. Individual souls come out of that. So the spirit is over the soul. The soul is over our mind, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. I'll get into superconscious in a second. Mind is over our actions, right? What you focus on, you do. It expands. Actions, or our mind is also over our emotions. What you focus on, you feel. Emotions are over those actions, actions over results, and results over destiny, right? So let's go to the level of mind. Mind is the cause of your liberation. Mind is the cause of your bondage. It causes both, right? So if we have the courage to explore the boundaries of our mind, if we are willing to step into courage, and we're willing to let go of our fears and be able to let go of our resistance to learning something new, expanding in greater ways. Are you willing to do that? I'm talking to you now. Okay. If you're willing to do that, and you want to step into courage, then what's going to happen for you is everything's going to start to change on a consistent basis, right? So the book I wrote, The Courage to Change Everything, Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom to Awaken Your Inner Genius. How do we tap into the inner genius? Well, I already gave you one way, stillness. I also gave you another way, asking questions. And there's another way that we can tap into our genius. And that is, of course, by learning from others and applying those principles. So when I wrote that book, this book took me 6 years to write. It's about 400 pages. It's 440 pages, hardback. And I rewrote it several times because I wanted to make sure that I had the wisdom of the ages in that book. So you could learn from the masters, whether it's Einstein to Tony Robbins to Jesus, to some of the Indian sages, to some of the Muslim sages. I wanted around the world. I want you to get the wisdom of the ages, and that's in those books. The other thing that's in that book, remember we talked about asking questions. Well, in that book, my Courage to Change Everything book, I put in there the most profound questions that you can probably ask to be able to take you completely out of your limitations, completely out of anything that may stop you, and help you to tap into higher realms of consciousness, higher realms of thinking that's already within you, but you're just not necessarily asking the right questions to get there. Stillness plus the right questions plus wisdom plus persistence will get you where you want to go.
I'm loving this because, well, one of the things when I'm on stage and I'm talking about, especially when we're talking about confidence, courage, hope, belief, most important things, in order to get the right answer of whatever you're looking for, you have to ask the right question. Because if you ask the wrong question, all answers are right. All of them are right. And so, man, you just explained that extremely well. And I tell you, we're going to take a station break, but I can't wait to get back and talk to Ken some more. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on or listening to us on, and just ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be on it, to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build the foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, I'm thoroughly enjoying this conversation with my good friend Ken D. Foster. Enlightenment. That's what I told you he was going to bring it. I mean, that's just I told you in the beginning of the show, and I know that he is bringing it, and this man is so accomplished and doing so many great things out there to help people, not just in the United States, but around the world. And I tell you, I believe that since you've been listening to him, you might want to go out and get his books. And that's the first question I'm going to ask Ken. Ken, how can our viewers and our listeners get your work and get in touch with you to share your vision, your understanding, and your focus on what you think that we all can do to help better ourselves?
Well, I love that. And yeah, my work is focused on your evolution, you remembering who you are. And, you know, it's interesting when we remember who we are, James, as you know, if you know who you are, you can't see color, meaning racial color. You can't see it when you know who you are. When you know who you are, you no longer have to believe in yourself, you become yourself. When you know who you are, you step into your power, your passion, your purpose, and you allow it to just flow through you. When you know who you are, you realize that you serve a divine cause, a divine plan that is unfolding as you start to speak your truth. When you know who you are, you step in to joy, to happiness, and people go, well, who am I? I think that the one of the best definitions I heard was from a yogi, and he said the definition was that we're SAT, Sat, Chit, CHIT, Ananda, Sat, Chit, Ananda. I said, what's that? He said, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. Now let that sink in. Let it sink in. What if that was really the essence of you? Ever new bliss. It's hard to have bliss and fear in the same house. It's hard to have bliss and anger in the same house. It's hard to have bliss and selfishness in the same house, or jealousy, or greed, or any of those. When you understand at the essence of who you really are, what the potential for you is, then everything changes. So you ask, why did I, how to get my books and stuff? Well, this book here, which will help tune you in to your soul and ask you soulful questions, you can get that on Amazon. This book here, my latest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Daily Strategies and Essential Wisdom to Awaken Your Inner Genius. I think everybody has to have this book. I can't imagine somebody not going through life with this book, because every day you get astute wisdom, no matter what level you're at. No matter you're super successful. Listen, I work with people right now that have businesses that are doing $100 million a year. Okay. They're passionate about giving this book out to their employees. They know that when everybody tunes in to their creative genius, they can step in and do things they've never been able to do before. So where can you get the book? CourageToChange.us. CourageToChange.us, US. Do you have the courage to change? You know, and I put in there, you know, I was going to call it the courage to change, James. But then I thought, I want the courage to change everything. Why? Because when you start to change one thing, think about, you ever buy a new couch for your living room, all of a sudden, wow, maybe I need a new chair. Maybe I need a new TV. Maybe I need a new carpet, right? Everything starts to change. Well, it's the same thing with us. When you change your consciousness, you up-level yourself. And I want to say this is so important. When you change your consciousness, when you up-level, you're changing it for 7 generations below you. Think about that. When you change, your children change. Their consciousness changes. Their children's consciousness changes. Their children's children, and so on it goes. You become part of the solution on this planet. If you want something better in this world to happen, you really, Gandhi said it, be the change you want to see in the world. And we need to pass that message on and remember that message for ourselves. 2024 is just about ready to be part of our lives, right? Well, here's the deal. Who are you going to be at the end of 2024? That's what I want to know. And that's what I want you to ask yourself. You know, a lot of times we have, James, underneath the surface, we have these limitations. You know, you teach everybody about it. Limitations, right? What are the limitations? It's our past programming. It's our past socialization. It's our harms, our guilt, our shame, our wounds, things we could have, would have, should have done. All that's underneath the surface. Subconscious mind keeps track of all that, right? You ever been out and somebody said something to you and all of a sudden you react? You go, where'd that come from? Or you get angry. Where'd that come from? Well, you're carrying that emotion in you at some level. So there's a program I created, James. I give it away free. It's called the release process, a powerful exercise to do between now and the end of the year. And you can get it right on my site for free, KenDFoster.com, Ken D as in Donald, Foster.com. You scroll down on the homepage. I want everybody to have that release process. I want everybody to get this book. Because if you do, guess what? My children get to live in a better world because you've done your work. You've stepped up. Your children will experience that. That's how we change this world. That's how we change ourselves. And I hope you take me up on it.
Wow, you know, you just packed a lot of stuff in there. But most importantly, what I take away from that one is you mentioned if you change the mindset or you change the heart, you change whatever, it's 7 generations down the line that's going to be affected in the good, if that's what your focus is. But also, if you got evil person or whatever that is, and they put their beliefs out there and force that on to, and it's going to be generations in their family that's going to be opposite of good and bad. How would you tell or explain to our audience and our viewers that's watching this, and going to be watching this for a long time, how do they focus and set their mindset on the right things, the things that are happening in the world now, and things are going to happen later, but to have the right mindset where I like to think that I'm a good person. I focus, I love everybody, no race, nothing, no racism, none of that stuff. I don't see black and white, I just see love. How would you explain to our viewers that are losing hope because of current situations, circumstances that are going on, and they're like, it's not going to get any better, it's going to get worse?
Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge that is your area of expertise, because I've seen your motivational speaks and talks, and you lift the audience up, man. You bring them right up, right? You get out. It's like we can't have this hopelessness going on. But, you know, I'll give you my comment on it too. I think that we're emotional beings. We go through ups and downs. You know, everybody doesn't have a great day every day, right? But if you do the work, your days get better and better. I'll tell you that. But I'll tell you what I've done, and I'll tell you what I do for my clients. I've coached over 10,000 clients now. I've got hundreds of thousands, probably 20, 30,000 hours of coaching these days that I've done over the last 30 years. And, everybody has some commonalities. We're all at the core, the essence. We all have the same commonalities there. What I want to say is that when an emotion hits, you have to you notice it in your body. Notice it. Breathing is important, right? A lot of times when something hits, we stop breathing, right? You get upset. You're afraid of something. Let me tell you what the core of fear or anger is. What's at the core? I always like to go to the cause, right? Wouldn't you like to know the cause of all anger on this planet, almost all fears? It's the feeling or the fear, we could say. It's the fear of not getting what you want or the fear of losing what you have. That's at the core of all anger. I can tell you that. Okay. So, and you don't trust me. Look at your own life. Go and think about next time you're angry. Okay. But when you understand that principle, it will help you to let it go. So hopelessness, and we have a lot of that in the world. I'll tell you what to do. Number one, turn off the TV. Okay. Tune in to James's show. Tune in to positive programming on my show, the Voices of Courage show, or my new show called Heal It. Learn how to heal your body, mind, soul, and spirit. Learn how to tune in to higher levels of awareness and consciousness. These aren't just, I'm not just giving you words. I'm giving you principles. And what I'd like you to do is, James's audience, when I say, learn how to meditate. Hey, listen, go figure that out, right? There are some brilliant teachers how to do that. If you don't want to meditate, then learn how to contemplate, learn how to ponder, learn how to focus your mind, learn some of the principles of mind so that you can start to tune into who you really are. One of the other pieces for goal setting, I'm going to just go back there for 1 second. I mentioned we're all evolving, growing, and learning. Goals help us do that. Set those goals that you can really evolve yourself with, right? So again, you can pick learning how to focus. And you say, you know what? I've been a procrastinator. I don't know how to focus on things. I put things off. I don't do things I should do. I'll give you 2 tips on that one, by the way. Do the worst.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Save those 2 tips until after commercial. Also, we got a question that's from Fire and Life that asks you, but we're gonna get back to that after the commercial. I knew that 1 hour with Candy Foster was not enough. We might have to do this again if Ken had time in the schedule, but we still got more time left in the show. Tell you what your platform of the show. If you want to be part of the show, all you do is go to it, ask any question you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. It's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you.
really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Welcome back to James Cooley Social Life. And hey, Ken, I'm looking at these numbers on YouTube, and you got a lot of people locked in, but they ain't saying nothing. I mean, they locked in and watching the show, and if I was them, I would be asking this great genius, Ken Foster, a lot of questions if I had those type of thoughts. But hey, Ken, want to get back. Man, as I was saying prior to the break, that I'm hoping that we can do this again, because this is so extraordinary and it's so good to have.
Love to do it with you again, James. Absolutely. I do see a question that's in there, and I'd love to answer it if you'd like me to.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Yeah, so the question is, there are many voices that we hear every day. How do we distinguish the right one to follow? For instance, what does confidence sound like? Well, I'd like to say this, that just as courage, intuition in most of us is where we start. It's like a gut feeling for some. You might feel it, you might hear it, you might sense it. But intuition, of course, is 100% accurate, but most people, it's not developed. So we have to make an effort to develop our intuition. One of the quick ways you can start to develop it is to ask this question. For instance, you're going to make a choice to go to the movie theater or stay home with your family, right? And either one might be the right way to go. So you just ask yourself, does this feel light or does this feel heavy? Does it feel light to go to the movie, or does it feel kind of heavy, right? Same thing, staying at home, does that feel light or heavy? So that's the question that you can ask. Intuition, of course, is developed by some of the principles we talked about earlier. Stilling your mind, learning how to meditate deeply, going into the spiritual eye, going into cosmic consciousness. Those take years to practice, but they're worth it. They will help you to develop that intuition. The other way we can learn intuition is, I'll give you a great story. My wife, let's see how we're doing on time. Yeah. My wife, Judy, was much more developed in the beginning with her intuition when we first met each other. And so we'd be driving down the street and she'd say, turn left. I said, no, if I turn left, I've gone that way many times. There's usually a lot of traffic at this time. And I give her a lot of argument. And I'd say, no, we need to go right. Inevitably, there'd be traffic on the right, right? And we did this, maybe 10 times. I went, okay, I've got to start listening to something different than my voice, because my reason is getting us in trouble. So I started paying attention to her intuition, and I couldn't believe it. Almost every time we're going the right, there's no traffic, there's nothing. To this day, she'll tell you, I listen to her intuition, right? But I also listen to mine. And man and women come together, right? You know this, James. Women have more developed intuition, most women, than men. And we have developed reason. So when you come together with reason into intuition, you combine that, you become a very powerful force together if you can get to that point in a marriage, right? But anyway, I hope to answer that question, that, light or heavy, just start to develop your intuition more and more and set your intention that you want to develop your intuition to 100%.
Intuition is everything, especially because we are in this, I believe, this circle and certain vibes that we get, especially from our partners, because they know us better than others. And They are just helping us out. You know, hey, Ken, I got a question. That in today's world, there seems to be a lack of integrity. Lack of integrity. How can we show up with more integrity as we work toward our goals, whatever goals those are? And I believe in what we call honesty, integrity, and ethics, the HIE theory. It's what I call it.
Well, I think the first thing we do is when you come into a coaching session with me, the first thing I do is establish values, right? And I ask a couple questions, you know, and you can ask yourself this to get to your values. You know, one is what's important to you about success, okay? And what's in the second one is what's important to you about life, okay? Because I want to know what you value, right? And you know, everybody values things a little differently, but if you're not living those values, once you ask those questions, and you know, if you're having a challenge doing that yourself, go on my website, and for the first 10 listeners of James' show today, I'll give you a complimentary 30-minute session. I guarantee you'll not only know your values, you'll let go of some of the limitations that are stopping you if you get one of those sessions with me. So it's KenDFoster.com, KenDFoster.com. Scroll down and you'll get a session with me, first 10. All right, so listen, once we establish our values, right, then what we want to do is we want to set any, it really doesn't matter, set any kind of goal that you really want, and start to live those values. Here's the key. If we're talking about integrity, and we're talking about if integrity is key to you, right, and people aren't being integrous around you, well, you show the way. You be the hero. You show what integrity is about. And how you do that is by setting, understanding your values, and then living those values continuously. If you do that, you're going to be in integrity with yourself. Now, if you don't, if you start procrastinating, or if you make a commitment to yourself or others and you don't complete it, guess what? It chips away your self-esteem. What is esteem? Love, self-love, a little bit. You keep doing that for a long period of time. You know, a lot of overgivers. I used to have a lot of people that overgave would come to me, and you know, they'd attract all these takers in their life, right? They attack the opposite so that they can learn the balance between the two of them. But the givers, right? They would inevitably, they were out of integrity because they would give, but they wouldn't have any time to give back to themselves. And a lot of times they wouldn't be in integrity because they wouldn't keep their commitments to themselves, right? So low self-esteem then, and it can be a mess. So if you're in that place, don't stay there. Go to my site. Let me help you.
Wow. Hey, Ken, we're down to the last minute and a half of the show. Please I know you just said it again. How can people get your books? How can they get in touch with you? How can they do this session? I know you just mentioned it, but I always like to mention it again so that it'll be fresh in listeners' mind.
Okay, so do you want to buy my book, Courage to Change? Go to conhttps. You want to get a session with me? You want to get the release process? KenDFoster.com. You want to buy my other books? Go to Amazon and get them up there. And James, I just want to thank you so much for being here. What you do is impressive and powerful, and it's positivity programming is where to be. You asked at one point, you know, how do I step my life up? Listen to James' show, on and on and on. Listen to my show. You will start to up-level your life in so many ways, start to vibrate energy and power and passion in your world.
Hey, real quickly, Ken, tell them what time your show come on, how they can reach you. So you got 30 seconds or less. Okay. I want them to lock in.
Sure. My show's all over, so you can Google Voices of Courage. You can tell Alexa, Cortana, or Siri, play Voices of Courage podcast. It'll come up for you. We're on YouTube. We're on every social media platform that's out there. Or you can go to voicesofcourage.us, voicesofcourage.us, and get all of our replays.
Ken, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I'm inviting you back again. Let me know when your schedule permits you. I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another extraordinary show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank my viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. as always, I want everyone to always leave dreaming big. Dream big, think big, be big. You can check us out on the radio, KCBQ, FM 96.1, AM 1170 Answer out of San Diego, Sunday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Otherwise, we'll see you next week, same time, same place. It's your life. Talk to you then.